How's it going, guys? My name is Matt. You are watching Code Tech and Tutorials. This is the third Unreal tutorial about making a first-person character. And we're going to pick up right where we left off from the previous video. So if you're not sure where we are, it might be a good idea to start from the beginning of this series and go through. But basically, we are getting all the basics of a FPS character going. So what we want to do now at this point is have some sort of way for the game to actually end, because right now we can just hit play and oh, for the love of God, I gotta get rid of this background sound, please. No, it sounds like birds or something. There's obviously no birds anywhere. Let's not do that. So I'm just going to delete it for the time being and hit play again, and now there's no background sound to annoy us. So our health bar looks good. We can move around, we can jump, we got a little huh sound, and we can just, there's nothing really to do. Sure, we can fall off the world, but even then, I think eventually we die. There's no real way to have much interaction with the game. So what we're going to do is make something happen when we go below 0 hit points and maybe add some ways to take damage. I'm going to show you how to build all that and all that stuff. So the first thing we want to do is go to our main BP FPS character that we've been working with and open it up. Let's put it up here so we have a nice tab. And we want some more event ticks. So currently we have one event tick where it just regenerates some HP. And we went over that last video. So for this video, we're going to have a new thing on the event tick. We basically want to check and see if we're dead. So let me go ahead and move this out of the way, because we're going to need a bit more space. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to drag this event tick actually out of the HP regen and drag this whatever it's called, the pathing, and we're going to do a sequence. So sequence, there it is, flow control sequence. Basically, sequence allows you to do multiple things. So first thing we want to check, we want to do the HP regen, and then second thing, we're going to now do a check if dead type of method. So we're going to do an if branch here, and let me take a look. Basically, we want to see if our current HP is less than 0. So the condition is going to be exactly that. So we'll grab our current HP, and we're going to do a less than check, float less than. So if HP is less than 0, hold on, it should be less than equal to, because you could still survive at 0 hit points if it's just less than. So we want less than equal to 0. So if your current HP is 0 or less, the condition we're going to go to is, or this is going to be true. And so our true setting here is going to be basically a quit game. Quit game. And this is really enough to take care of it. However, we need a specific player. So if the specific player to quit the game, if not specified, player 0 will quit. So this might work fine on our own, since we are player 0, but in general you want this to map to whoever you want to quit the game, because multiplayer and all that. So we're going to get player controller, and that is the specific player of our player. So if our HP goes below 0, it just immediately quits. That's at least something. However, we're going to make a few improvements here. Yeah, we'll improve it later. The big thing I need here is a way to actually take damage, because there's no way in this game for me to currently lose hit points. So going back to the level editor, let's add in a way to lose hit points. So we're going to use let's use a sphere trigger, and we'll just drag that sphere trigger in here, move it in. So when you walk over this, you can do stuff, basically, is all this trigger is. I'm going to increase it in size a little, and there's nothing here to really for us to be able to see what's going on. So we can't tell even the trigger box is there. It's non-existent. You can't even tell when you walk over it. So let's add some effects so that you can tell. So going back to our trigger sphere, we can go into starter content and grab a particle emitter. So we'll make this, maybe we'll make it some fire. So we're going to drag fire actually as a child of this trigger sphere. So I'm going to drag it in here relatively close, but then over here in our whatever you call this world outliner, I'm going to make it a child of the trigger sphere, and you can tell it's a child now. So that way when we move our trigger sphere, it moves the fire along with it, and they just kind of stay together. Now the fire is really just for looks, so we can actually tell where this is. So now when we hit play, we see the fire there, and what we can do is we can make it so that when we walk on the fire, we take some damage over time until we leave it. So that's pretty standard for like walking over a campfire or something in a game. Take a little bit of damage to your feet. And okay, so now we got to go to this trigger sphere and just build in some damage. We could also put this on the character, I think, but it makes more sense to put it on the object since it's coming from the object. So what we're going to do is so what you have to do is you have to select this trigger sphere, right click on it. It's going to select the fire instead because, I don't know, because that's how it is. So all we have to do is hide the fire, select the sphere again, and then right click. And it actually lets us right click on the trigger sphere. Actually, I don't think it did. I'm pretty sure it selected the floor. Okay, so I figured out it's actually kind of easy to click on this. You just have to right click on the button, click on the button. I was trying to click on the arrows before, and that seems to select the thing behind it. But if you click on this little button of the trigger and right click on that, you can easily get to this menu. So I stand corrected. All right, so now that I've right clicked it, I get this context menu, and you can go to add event, and you can have it do different things based on events happening. Now these events are from the level blueprint. So what I want to do is make a actor begin overlap. So it brings us into the blueprint of our level for this, and it says on actor begin overlap the trigger sphere we're working on. So on begin overlap, we're going to have to add a few variables over here. Now there might be a better way of organizing it, but I'm just going to kind of do it in a way that gets it done, and maybe we'll straighten it up later if we need to. We want to add some variables because we want this to be a damage over time effect. This begin overlap only triggers once when you enter it. So we actually need a couple different triggers. We need one for when you enter it, we want to start taking damage, and when we want to leave it, we want to stop taking damage. So then we need an end overlap. On actor end overlap, and I don't see that anywhere easily here. Add event trigger. Okay, here we go. It's probably under this. Add event trigger for sphere 1. Add on actor end overlap. So there we go. We have both of those, and now we just need to work with a variable. So we'll have a boolean of in fire. So if they are noted as being in the fire, then they'll be taking some damage. So I'm going to hit compile just so that I can make sure this is false. Okay, so this initializes to false. That's great. So when we begin the overlap, we want to set in fire to true. And we'll just check this box to make it true. And when we leave it, we want to set the effect that we're in fire to false. So that will take care of it. However, this also needs the actor that's overlapping for the trigger. So that's just our normal character. But we have to do a cast to our FPS character to make sure. So really this ends up being, let's see, overlapped actor. Okay, we need to bring this little chain through it, so it's got to check that first. And the other actor is the thing that's overlapping with the sphere. So overlapped actor is the sphere. Other actor is our player or whatever's overlapping. And we only want to do this fire thing if our character overlaps with it. If it's something else, we're not worried about that. So there we go. So we have a cast failed option and some other stuff. We're not going to use those. We just want to set this in fire to true because the damage is going to come from this fire. So on the end overlap, it's very similar. We're also going to do a cast, make sure it's the character that's leaving, and if so, then we set our end fire to false. And this check mark, of course, is the true or false. This one's true, this one's false. So that should toggle our end fire. But now we need an event trigger on this thing. Let's see. I don't even see that. Let's see, what's it called? Event tick. Okay, event tick. There we go. So we're going to add an event tick. And this is just in general on the world. So if it were detected as being in the world and in fire, we're going to take some fire damage. So this damage is going to happen. So we need to do some checks here. And also, of course, it's just going to reduce health every single tick, which could be like 100 and however many frames we're getting per second. So we could get a gazillion ticks per second. So we want to slow that down with a bit of cooldown on the tick. And we're going to do that very similarly to how we did the cooldown on the last video. So what we need here is we need a, let's see, we need a damage tick. I guess we'll call it, I don't remember what I called the last one. I guess we'll call it the damage tick cooldown, and this is going to be a float. And we're going to make yet another variable called damage tick accumulator, ACC for short. I'm going to take the cooldown off of it. Man, no, that's fine. I like cooldown being there, CD. That helps me. Okay, so I'm going to hit compile so I can set some default values. This event tick default value is just going to be every, let's see, should we take damage every 1 second? Every 2 seconds? I feel like every 1 second's good. And we'll make sure that's false to 0. It does. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to have an if branch. So on every loop, we're going to check if the condition of in fire is true. In fire. So if on any event tick, if we're in fire, we are going to see if it's been long enough for us to take damage. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set our damage tick accumulator, and that is just going to increase by our delta that's passed since the last tick. And so of course we'll need the current damage tick accumulation number, which is the get. So whatever it currently is, plus the delta seconds, and that is going to increment the damage tick accumulator by however much time has passed. So now what we want to do is we want to go here and make another condition and another if condition, and we want to see if the damage tick accumulation time is greater than the cooldown. So let's go ahead and get the cooldown, damage tick cooldown. So if we can, there's many ways to write this. You can revert. I'm kind of doing some reverse logic here compared to how I usually do it. But basically, if the damage tick cooldown is less than the accumulated time here, then the condition is true and we should be taking some damage. So we'll just do some damage. We want to make sure it's the player that is taking damage. So we're going to do a cast to BP FPS character again. And then we're just going to get the player character. That way it's working with the person who is running around. Like it's player index 0, that's us. So that's something we might have to revisit if we go into multiplayer type stuff. But basically we want to just reduce by fire damage. So let's make a little variable called just fire damage tick. Okay, yeah, that's fine, I guess. So a bit of a confusing set of variable names there. Maybe I can make them a little better, but that's fine. We can basically set this to what we want our fire damage to be. Maybe we want to take 5 damage. Let's just do a 5 for now. And what we're going to do is, if this cast was successful, we're going to set our current HP. And there it is. And of course the target is going to be this BP character. and the new damage, well, the new hit points is going to be 5 less. So we got to get our current. Get current HP. Just dragging off that node, getting our current HP, and we're going to minus it by the fire damage tick. There it is. And that new number is now going to equal our current HP. Okay, that's good enough for now. We could play like a sound of something burning, or a sound of our character making some noise, but we'll skip that for now. What we're going to do is we're going to set our damage timer, or set our damage tick accumulator back to 0 once we've taken damage, because we want to reset that cooldown. So now we don't need to drag the current HP into that, just set it to 0. 0 is already there, we're good. So now what should happen is, if we're in that fire, or the trigger sphere, the world will set us to on fire, and we'll start taking damage. And once we leave it, it'll make us not on fire anymore, and we will stop taking damage. So there's no catching on fire or anything like that. Let's just go ahead and compile all these, save all these, and hit play. And now if we walk over here, I'm going to wait for a second for that little thing in the top left to disappear. There we go. If we walk over here, we should start taking some damage, and there it is. It is chunking us down significantly, and once we get to 0, that death should trigger, and we should just quit. Boom, we quit. We're no longer playing. Alright, very good. So it's more obvious. The quit is a little more obvious if you do a standalone game simulation, because that way it's actually a full window here. And it looks like I tabbed out of it. Okay, let me see. There we go. There we go. So we'll go over here in the fire, taking some damage. Now you can only tell because of the meter, and it doesn't stop our regen, so we still have a regen tick every once in a while, but it's not enough to save us through fire damage. Okay, so the quit works fine. Now there's not a whole lot of feedback about what's happening. We just, so we're going to need some sounds in here so that the player kind of has some sense that something is going wrong other than their health bar moving. So once again, we're going to open Audacity, and we're just going to have a little fun with this. And we're going to play a burning sound, and we're going to play a death sound. So for our burning sound, let's see. That should be good. Okay, so we'll just select that now. And we're going to go to File, Export, Selected Audio. And yep, this is the area in our project where we saved the previous one, so it's already mapped there. And we're just gonna, I don't know what kind of sound that was. Maybe like with 3 H's. Okay, 16-bit wave, that's fine for now. I'm gonna clear the saved values there. It's just me working on it. And looks like Unreal's smart enough to detect a new file. We'll hit import, and now we have that. So we can just drag off of this. We can do, I guess we can do it at the very end. After the damage tick accumulation is set back to 0, we'll just hit a play sound right at the end here. Play sound at location. And of course, we're going to select the asset here, which will be the sound. So let's just go ahead and test that out. We're going to hit play, save selected, and it's going to play right at our location too, right where we're taking the damage. So now we should get some sound feedback. Okay, cool. All right, so that seems to work great. I think well, I was just thinking I could add a little more logic in here, because once we get to dying, the sounds aren't going to always play as expected when we die, if it's triggering something else. But I'm not going to worry about that. Just let's go and do one other thing. We want to have a bit of a notification when we quit. Sure, the window closes, but that doesn't really tell the player anything. Sure, they'll know by this point that they quit because they ran out of HP, but we can make this just a little bit better. Not a lot better, but just some minor improvements here. And basically what we want to do is drag this over a little bit and do a few things before we quit. Like, let's make a death sound effect, and also let's give it a little delay. That way it doesn't quit immediately. and gives it a little time to play out maybe our final animation, final sounds before it quits. So we've already got, if they're below 0, do something. And what we want to do is, well, if we're going to have a delay, we're going to need to keep a boolean of whether we are alive or not. And this is going to come in handy in a couple different areas, but for now it's just going to be boolean that is called is alive. So the first thing we're going to do is, when we branch off of this, is we want to check if we are alive. So we're going to do yet another if, and we're going to check the condition of alive. Get is alive. So if they are alive, we will continue on to, well, first of all, we're going to set is alive to false. So unchecked there, that's good. So if we're alive and we go below 0, it sets us to dead. And what that'll do is it won't keep doing this every tick when we're already dead, because it's just going to set us to dead and then continue on with the rest. And if this triggers again before it gets to quit game, it won't keep retrying the quit game and this other thing we're going to do, because we are going to do a play sound at location. And this sound we want to be a death sound. Let's go ahead and open Audacity again. I'll close that track. And let's do another one. Hold on, let me come up with the death sound. Close enough, right? All right, so we'll just select that and do what we did last time. File, export selected audio, and another sound. 3 H's. Okay, just some basic grunt type sounds. Yep, very good. And that exported, and we see it here with Unreal, because Unreal is very nice. And we're going to just select it in our asset now. We should see it here. There it is. So now we'll play that. But the thing is it's going to quit the game right away. So we're not even really going to hear our sound because the game is going to quit. So we need to put a delay right here. And this is the whole point of the is alive thing too, so we don't spam this during the delay. So we would just want to do a delay, probably about a 1.2 seconds is probably good of a delay, and then we'll quit. Let's make it a little bit longer, like a 1.3. And I think that'll take it. That'll do fine. And since we have this, yeah, it's not going to spam this sound of it's just going to play it once during this delay before the quit. All right, so this is kind of hacky, but it should get the job done. Let's go see if it works. We'll hit compile, save, whatever, play, and let's just go right over here into the fire and start taking some damage. And as you can see, we're not actually dying, so something's bugged out. So why is it not quitting on us? I must have something bugged here. Oh, I know what it is. This is alive is defaulting to false. It's never true. So that's why it's not ever going to this true case. So we need to default this is alive value to true by just checking it there and hit compile. And now that should solve our problem, because we were just never going down this branch with it always being false. Okay, very good. So let's go over here now and see if it works. Okay, very good. We got our final sound, but also there's just one little last bug, and that's that it keeps playing this play sound at location if we're already dead. So we could put a last little if statement in here and just check our current H. Yeah, let's do an is alive. So we're looking for is alive, but also we need to make sure we get it from the player. So it'd be this cast right here. Is alive. Alive. So if they are alive, we'll continue with the damage. If not, this doesn't work anymore. But also, you know, as we know, if they are triggered as dead, we're going to be doing something else. So these two blueprints are kind of working together with their combined logic, and hopefully it makes sense now. Let's go ahead and get beat up. Very good, very good. So we didn't keep playing the damage tick sound after we died, and it did work with the delay. Only play the other sound work. I think we're good. Let's just test it again. Okay, yeah, that seems to be working pretty well. So that's it. That's how we get to an end state, take some damage, a little damage over time tick, and some more sounds. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and maybe learned some things. Last thing I'm going to do while I'm talking my outro is just leave some comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you're all doing well as can be during this trying time in the world. And, you know, now's a great time to be learning development. Take damage if alive and on fire. And I think these are fairly obvious. Start burning. Yep, and this one's going to basically stop burning. So there we go. I think we just got to make one more little comment over here on our new setup here of basically quitting the game and dying. Quit game after short delay if below 0 HP. So there we go. And things are looking pretty well now, I think. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help me a lot. Same with comments, so I'd appreciate any feedback, any comments, anything you want to say is fine. Show me your projects. All right, peace out, guys. See you in the next video.